Welcome to Sports Corner with Ralph Williams and Smokin' Jim Frazier. And now here's your host, Ralph Williams and Smokin' Jim Frazier.
And good evening and welcome to another edition of Sports Corner. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, hello, Smokin' Jim. The other one, the 990. We're ready for you. No, the 990 number. Okay. Right. Bye. Sorry about that, guys. We had a little Smokin' Jim is coming on the air here in about 5 seconds here. So anyway, welcome to the program tonight. We have with me tonight Kip Gross. Also at 9 o'clock, Matt Venzel. And then at 9:20, Leo Haggerty. Kip's former professional baseball player. We're going to talk with him in a few moments. I have him in the waiting room. And then at 9 o'clock, Matt Venzel will come on to talk with you about the Kyle Dubas hiring for the Penguins. And also, Leo Haggerty will be on at 9:20 to talk about the Florida Panthers and the Stanley Cup Finals. I'll tell you what, we have a monster show for you here tonight, right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. So, all right. Yes, indeed. You better call somebody. Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know it. So anyway, coming up, we have Smokin' Jim Frazier here any second. I'm waiting for him to call me here on the phone. All right. In the meantime, we're gonna go to our sponsors, Hillcrest Farm in Richmond, Ohio. Don't forget to head out to Richmond, Ohio. It's about 45-minute ride from Pittsburgh and Western Pennsylvania. It's up the hill from Steubenville, Ohio. And Hillcrest Farm, they have hay grain beef that they grow right there on site. So give them a call today. They have some great package deals, and they're also running a contest. Check their website out, and you'll see the contest in their Facebook page as well at Hillcrest Farm. Their phone number is 740-346-5442 or 740-632-2894. You can email them at hillcrestfarmsohio@gmail.com, or you can check out their website, hillcrestfarmsohio.com. And with that, what you can do is you can tell them you heard it right here on this program. And today, I had a very great experience this afternoon. I wanted to let you know as well. I went to sign the contract for my radio show with Beaver County Radio, and I'm trying to help Smokin' Jim Frazier here. He's having issues getting on the phone here, so I'm working with him as well as I'm trying to talk to you. It's called multitasking. So anyway, I signed the contract today, June 20th, 5 to 6 p.m., Beaver County Radio. We're also going to have the guests that we have tonight on eventually as well. But getting back to our sponsors, Draft 412. Get on their website today, Draft 412. If you are interested in any kind of draft, NHL, baseball, football, NBA, anything that that has any relation to a draft, okay, Draft 412 has it for you. They have a low monthly fee, so make sure you get on with Draft 412. Get on their website today. I'll tell you what, you will be satisfied to no end with the great knowledge that Draft 412 has. All right, and then I'm going to talk to you about our other sponsor, DJ Fun. DJ Fun, call him today, 412-545-4317. Weddings, parties, and special events. DJ Fun, 15 years of experience in DJ work here in Western Pennsylvania. And also, get this, he will not take you to the cleaners. I spoke to him. DJ Fun told me to tell you this, that he spoke with a client, and he just booked the gig for September 8th. That client told him that for a 4-hour party, that some of these DJs were quoting anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, and it's nowhere near that with DJ Fun. So give him a call today, 412-545-4317. And we're here in the first line consulting studios right here in Allentown section of the city of Pittsburgh. call First Line or get on the website of First Line Consulting. Do you need a website? They have a low monthly fee. They will build you a website, manage your site, and put up anything you want on the site for a low monthly price. First Line Consultant, our new studio sponsor here on Sports Corner. All right. Smokin' Jim's having some technical issues right now, so I don't know what's going on. We'll get with him in a few moments. All right. Right now in our waiting room, we have Kip Gross, former professional baseball player. Kip, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me here, and let's have some fun today.
All right. So anyway, there's Smokin' Jim Frazier. Hang on, Kip.
Okay.
All right, Smokin' Jim Frazier has finally made it to the air here. How you doing, Smokin' Jim?
Doing good, bro.
All right. Say hello to Kip Gross. I have him on right now. And
hey.
All right,
Jim.
All right, there you go. All right, Kip. Tell the audience what teams you played for over the years in Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball, I played for the Reds, the Dodgers, Houston and Boston. And then I played over in Japan for 5 years.
Oh, get out of here. Did you play for Bobby Valentine?
One game. We had a one-game game where the Gaijin, all the Americans and foreigners, played against the Japanese for one game, and he was my manager for one game. Good story on that, too. We beat him.
Oh, really?
It'll never happen again.
No, the reason why I asked you that question was because I watched a bar rescue episode, and John Taffer was trying to help Dan Serafini save his bar, and he got and then he went ahead and he had Bobby Valentine come on, and Bobby Valentine talked so highly of Dan Serafini, and it was crazy, and he had come on and gave him some kind of motivation and that kind of thing, and I think that resurrected Bobby Valentine's managing career too. I think.
Well, I played against him quite a bit over there because he was with the Marines, and so I was with the fighters, so we were in the same league, so we played him all the time.
Wow.
But he kind of went to the Japanese style of managing over there to keep his job. But I got a great Bobby Valentine story, but it's too long for this list today.
Of all the teams you played for, Kip, which team did you like the best?
To be honest with you, I was only with him for a little time, but it was Houston.
Okay.
That the reason why was because they kind of just treated everybody on that team like they were 10-year veterans. It didn't matter who you were, where you came from, what you did. Biggio and Bagwell and those guys, they did treat everybody great. The manager, the owner would come down in the locker room after the game and shake your hand and say hi to you, even if you had a bad game. It didn't matter. For that reason alone, I just really thought that was great of them.
You're watching Sports Corner right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We have our guest, Kip Gross, who is a former Major League pitcher for Major League Baseball. Kip, let me ask you a question here. What do you like? Do you like anything about today's baseball?
That's a good question because I talk pretty down on it now. All the changes and everything they've done since they brought in this commissioner 9 or 10 years ago. He's just completely changed what you see on the field. And I'm just not a fan of it. I understand that they're trying to get new fans out there, trying to speed it up, not necessarily the length of the game, what they say, but it's the length of the game is what they're trying to do. But, when you start having ghost runners and walking a guy to first base in the big leagues, it just seems like you're going back to 13-year-olds playing travel ball. And so I'm not a fan of it whatsoever at all. So, yeah, I don't like it.
Wow. Smokin' Jim, you have any questions for Kip Gross?
No, I'm enjoying the interview, though.
All right, great. There you go. Kip, tell me what you're up to these days. What are you up to? You have your own business, I think?
I give lessons. It's all I do is I like giving lessons to kids. I've always enjoyed it. I've been doing it for a long, long time. It's one of those things where I've coached a lot of teams too. My son's team since he was 8 years old. He graduated a couple years ago. He's 22 now. Coached my daughter's team in high school. And I just, the way I did it was I just taught fundamentals. That's all I did. I didn't try to get these guys to be superstars, nothing like that. And it always worked. And that's what I do. And I give lessons same way. I don't need to teach some kid that's super talented. I like those, younger kids that come in and struggle a little bit and they're struggling only because they've never been taught the proper way how to play the game. And, there's a lot of positions to get in, pitching wise, catching wise, hitting wise, all that stuff, fielding. And they've just never been taught these fundamentals. And I'll tell you what, going and playing in Japan for 5 years taught me a whole lot about the game as far as fundamentals, because if there's something that the Japanese do great at in baseball is play fundamental baseball. And you see that every year in the Little League World Series. And then this year you saw it in the World Baseball Classic.
All right, we're here live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Twitter. We're talking to Kip Gross, former Major League Baseball player, Smokin' Jim Frazier by phone, my co-host. And if you're a first-time watcher to the program, we're here. We're going to be here for one more Tuesday night here at 8:30. We go to radio starting on June 20th. We go to radio on Beaver County Radio in Western Pennsylvania, 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, 12:30 a.m. and 1460 a.m. It's part of the St. Barnabas Broadcasting Network. I signed a contract today for Smokin' Jim Frazier and I, and we're going to get ready to go on the radio, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. We're still going to be putting out Sports Corner. I'll tell you about that later in our announcement segment of the show. Kip, how'd you get started in baseball? What made you get into baseball?
Funny question. Where I grew up in Gearing, Nebraska, out in Western Nebraska, back in the sticks, basically is where it's at. It was just nothing more than me always wanting to play with the older guys when I was a kid. 7 years old is when I first started playing organized ball, and I played against 8 and 9 year olds. My dad lied for me and and I just always wanted to play to the next level because I always looked up to that next generation and next age group. And that's all I wanted to do is just keep doing that. And I just said, I'm going to try to play this game as far and long as I can. And so no high school baseball. I ended up walking on to University of Nebraska, got redshirted that year, went to junior college the next year and got drafted by the Cardinals. Next year I went back to Nebraska, got drafted by the Mets. And next thing you know, I played 16 years professionally. So,
wow.
Yeah.
How was it there with the Mets in New York like that?
It was awesome because, I'd never had a pitching coach until I signed a contract, believe it or not, until I was 21 years old. And so as soon as I got to instructional league, I was just bombarded with all the different pitching instructors there coming at me because they all had their little twitches and ways to do things. And so I listened, I asked a ton of questions, and it was a remarkable thing to come up with the Mets a little bit because they were so concerned about things like that and teaching you the game. And so I was that guy that was always asking these instructors so many questions. They had to kick me out of the room sometimes. They got tired of me. Yeah, when I was in Cincinnati, Ken Griffey Sr., I'd sit in the dugout next to him and just ask him question after question. Sooner or later, he'd say, "Gross, stay right here. I'm not coming back for a while." Get out.
Yeah, you were around in Major League Baseball when they had these cookie cutter stadiums and stuff like that. Is that right?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I played in Atlanta. Cincinnati.
Fulton County Stadium.
Fulton County. They were all
Cincinnati
the same.
Riverfront. Yeah.
Yep. They were all the same looking stadiums. And, at that time, I loved them. I'm in the big leagues. I didn't care if I was playing on
Busch
a
Stadium.
dirt.
Yeah.
Didn't matter to me. I just wanted to play baseball. Didn't matter what stadium I was in. So, yeah, it was fun playing in those regardless, but they're all different now.
Yeah, they're all these sophisticated ballparks, and I think everybody's pretty much done the same. I believe that the ballpark thing started with Baltimore when they built Camden Yards. I think that was just the kickstart of these new ballparks, don't you think?
It was. There's a lady, I can't remember her name. She's the one that's designed all these, and she's the one that designed the Camden Yards to begin with. And then they loved it so much that now they've hired her to build most of these or design most of these other stadiums. I don't know her name. But, she's done a tremendous job with all these stadiums. So, actually, I hope she's going to do Vegas, but we'll see.
There you go. I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. In fact, speaking of the A's, we're up. It's 2-2 right now in the sixth inning. Pirates are playing the A's right now. So, well, I tell you what, Kip, that's a really bad team there, the Oakland A's. I'm trying to get Bruce Kessinger on here. He's a friend of mine, or Mark Hefferman on to talk about the A's because they're down there in Oakland area, and they talk about that stuff. And it's crazy about what's going on with Oakland. That's a shame. I mean, those folks down there, they didn't want to approve a stadium or not. What do you think of this?
You know what? Again, it's the commissioner. The commissioner should not be allowing this to happen. I completely blame him for this. Right. Just like when you go to spring training, every time you go on the road, you have to take so many starters on your team. So the fans come out and they get to see some veterans on the team. And in baseball, it should be the same way. He should be making sure that this team is able to compete, and they're just not. What do they won? 12 games so far, got like a 150 winning percentage. I mean, it's ridiculous what this commissioner's done for the game of baseball right now. And there's no way that a team should be that bad. Don't get me wrong, they got a lot of prospects on the team, but they're just not ready. They're not ready. They're ruining guys what they're doing over there. And it's a shame that this commissioner allows this stuff to happen.
Do you think that the people of Oakland are right to justify to turn down the stadium deal? Because now if the A's leave, Oakland has nothing. Old State left to go to San Francisco. You have the Raiders left to go to Vegas, and now the Oakland A's are going to go to Vegas. Do you think the owners should flip the bill for this ballpark if you really cared, or do you think that this whole thing with Oakland is proper?
Well, it's pretty tough to answer that question because the mayor of the town had their issues with the owner a couple years ago,
right? The
stadium going in. So who's to blame or who's to fault? I don't know. But I do know that going to Vegas, it's going to be a completely different gig going there because they're going to have a huge stadium. They're going to sell out almost every night, and they're probably going to build a team over there that's going to compete day in and day out, year after year. Because when you don't have to have a salary cap in baseball,
right?
They're going to make a ton of money in Vegas. So I think it's going to be good. But as far as who's to blame, all these stadiums, they have the 50-50 ownership with the city and the owner,
right?
And obviously the city's not doing their end of the bargain with making that stadium decent. It's a bad stadium. I played at it.
Oakland Alameda County Stadium. Yeah, that's crazy with the baseball diamond right there in the football field going across. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, it is. Yeah. I'm a Raiders fan too, so I had to watch that for so long too, seeing a baseball field on the field until September was over.
Well, that's nuts. Do you follow the Arizona Diamondbacks? I know you live in Arizona.
You know what? I started following them last year a little bit more, and my son, he got a type of a season pass, and him and I went quite a few times last year. And it was fun watching them, actually. They weren't very good last year, but you could see the improvement throughout the season. I told my son about September, I said, you watch and see. This team's going to be legit next year. They just got to hang on to a couple of their starting pitchers and get a couple of guys in the bullpen. They built a really good team over there. And so I think they're going to contend for quite a while now.
Yeah, they gave the Pirates a bunch of fits when they came up here. And, don't sell Arizona out on that at all. You know what I mean? So, Smokin' Jim, you have any questions for Kip Gross?
No, man. Awesome interview, though.
Thank you very much. Kip, if you were to play baseball today, what team would you play for, or would you go back to Japan?
You know what? I wouldn't say if I had to do it all over again, I'd have signed with the Cardinals. At a junior college. And the reason is because, like I said, I never had a pitching coach until I finally did sign a contract. Don't get me wrong, Mike Evans at Nebraska, he tried his best. He was more of an infield coach, but the other pitching coach had to leave for personal reasons. So he stepped in, wrote a couple books, did a really good job. But the Cardinals organization just over the years has just been top notch from the get-go till now.
Right.
And they always do it right. They don't abuse guys over there. How they let Pujols go, I'll never understand that.
Oh, that was crazy. I can't figure that one out either.
But other than that, I mean, it's just you never hear anything going bad with the players there. That's what they do there. So I would say I'd love to play for the Cardinals. I grew up a Royals fan, but as soon as I signed with the National League team, I was out with American League. That's just glorified slow pitch softball. And so that's all you have now in baseball too, because everybody doesn't have the DH. So,
yeah, I know. Yeah. What do you think of the DH? Do you like the DH, or you think the pitcher should hit?
I 100% do not like the DH.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. When you played the National League, you don't have it anymore, but as a manager, you've got to manage that game. You got to know when you're going to take your pitcher out. Might have to double switch. There's just so much going on out there as far as what you do. And now it's just, throw the pitcher out there and let him go as long as he can, as far as he can, which is today 4 or 5 innings, and then bring in a reliever, and the game's over. And that's how it works today. So today's game is more of, what's the guy up in the office saying how do I got to manage this game today as far as analytics? And it's just not there anymore.
Well, the commissioner, I heard some stories. He's not a baseball man. He's a financial man. Do you believe that to be the case?
Oh, there's no question he is. I mean,
right.
Everything he's doing is about money. I mean, here's the case in all cases for knowing about this commissioner. I mean, unbelievable. First of all, he wanted to speed up the game, right, and make it so it was a shorter game because it was getting over 3 hours a game, and he wanted to get it down to two and a half hours each game. As soon as this starts happening, what's he do? He now has all these teams now allow him to go to 8th inning to sell beer instead of the 7th inning.
Wow.
So it's nothing more. It's all about money, and that's what he's doing, and he's obviously making money. But
right.
I'm just not a fan of what he's doing. I'm not, and if that's not hypocritical, I don't know what it is, because they stopped the beer sales at 7th inning so people have a chance to sober up a little bit or whatever you're going to do. How, I don't know, but then they go ahead because the games are shorter now. So hey, let's let them drink till the 8th inning now.
Yeah, they were doing that. I used to be a vendor back when I was growing up at the old Three River Stadium, and they were shutting it down in the 7th inning.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, not anymore. They're going to 8th inning now.
They're going to 8th inning now. Yeah,
what they're doing.
So now they got 1 inning to sober up and to go.
Yeah, they got a whole inning now. Yeah.
yeah. You know what though? I have never had a bad problem with at PNC Park at all dealing with drunks, but I don't really go to the games much because I'm not a Bob Nutting fan. I'm an angry man about Bob Nutting. I think that, but now it looks like he's starting to come around. He signed some players. What do you think of the Pirates this year?
You know what? They got off to a tremendous start. They've got some really good players in their team. It's just, every team it boils down to when you got a good team is just injuries. If you stay healthy, you usually have a pretty good chance. They started off, everybody was hot to begin with, and then some guys cooled off, and hitting and pitching is so crazy how the team combines to do the same thing. You very rarely have, one good guy pitching great all the time, and then the other 4 or 5 aren't. It's usually everybody does this or everybody does that. And so, Pirates are fun to watch. They always have been fun to watch. I always liked the blue collar style out there. So, yeah, I've always been a fan of them.
That's great. You're down here in the West Coast. Is there any other West Coast team that you like down there?
I've always wanted to be a Padres fan, but as soon as they started doing all their stuff in the dugouts and on the fields and signing these young guys to huge contracts, and they don't care about it, I'm out with that too. They're
right.
The young players are now stopping before third base on a home run and doing their little shuffle, and that's just if
you don't like the showing off, huh?
I don't like any of that. I don't.
That's crazy. Yeah, it is.
Told people, if a guy did that to me when I was playing, I wouldn't hit him. I'd hit the next guy in the lineup.
There you go.
Then he'd have to deal with the guy that just did it, and they say, you know what, you got to stop this crap because I'm the one that has to pay the price for it, and so that's just how it is.
What do you think of Rich Hill? He's the oldest pitcher in Major League Baseball right now, 43 years old. What's your thoughts on Rich Hill?
Hey, if he can keep doing it 43, keep doing it, brother. He just had a great game the other day, didn't he? If I believe,
yes.
He had a really, really good game. And, I almost picked him up on fantasy the other day before the game too.
Oh, really?
Almost did. Yeah. And I thought,
wow.
You know what? It's just, it was just, I can only make so many transactions a week and I didn't do it. And then I kicked myself in the butt when I didn't. But, anybody like Nolan Ryan, those guys can go as long as they do. I just commend. I played till I was 36. And I probably could have played another year or two, but, I just had my son and I just, right. I wanted to shut it down. But, people don't realize how tough it is to pitch at 25, much less it is 43.
Right.
So I commend him for everything he's doing.
Yeah. Do you agree that if someone gets Tommy John surgery, they're on the shelf for a couple of years?
Well, I've talked about this an awful lot because, I'm a big proponent of, as a manager and a coach, your first order of business is keep your players healthy. Right. And they just don't do it anymore. They don't care anymore about wow. your players' health and what they do. You know, there's so many guys now that throw 94, 95 miles an hour that, one guy gets hurt, they just put him on the shelf. They got insurance on him and they're going to bring the next guy up and let's do it again. I mean, I would love to know the statistics in the last 10 years. How many guys have had Tommy John surgery in baseball, in professional baseball? It's got to be an astronomical number, and I'm just not a fan of it. There's other ways to do it. Fix these guys' mechanics. slow them down a little bit. Let's learn how to pitch instead of just trying to throw a heater as hard as you can for as long as you can. But that's what they're doing today. So yeah, I'm not a fan of it. The doctors are making money, and
There you go.
insurance companies are losing money. I don't even know how they get them insured, actually.
Kip, thanks for being on the program tonight. I really appreciate it. I know last week we couldn't connect on. You were having some flight issues and stuff. Smokin' Jim, do you have any questions before Kip goes?
Hey, no, awesome interview. I appreciate him coming on, man. That was great.
All right. Thank you very much, Kip. And we'll talk to you again sometime. Maybe we'll have you on the radio show soon. And have a great night. Thank you for being on again. And have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Had a great time.
Thanks.
Anytime you want, we're in.
All right. That was Kip Gross, former Major League Baseball pitcher. Smokin' Jim, what's your thoughts on this interview with Kip Gross?
I really enjoyed it.
Oh, great. That's good. Smokin' Jim, what's your thoughts tonight on a few things? We got Matt Vensel coming up. He's going to talk about the Penguins. Pirates are down now 5-2 in the sixth inning. They took Mitch Keller out, and then they put a reliever in, and all of a sudden now they're down 5-2. So here we go to the Oakland A's when they should be probably up 10-0. The Oakland A's. So all right, let's get started here until Matt Vensel comes on. Matt is he's going to be on shortly. He's the beat reporter for the Post-Gazette for the Penguins, and he's going to tell us about Kyle Dubas, what he's up to, who his GM candidates are, because right now he's serving two positions. He's the president of hockey operations for the Penguins, and so he's also going to serve as interim GM until one is here. And speaking of Matt Smokin', Jim, he's right here right now. And let's bring aboard Matt Vensel, Post-Gazette reporter for the and he covers the Penguins for the Post-Gazette. Matt, welcome again. Hey, we just saw you on Thursday, or when I had you on the TV show on Thursday. How you doing,
I'm
Matt?
in demand. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. What's your give everyone here a synopsis on Kyle Dubas and what's going on. And I understand he's going to be the assistant GM until he finds one. Is there anybody that he can hire before the draft or no?
Well, so when he was introduced to the media and the public last week, he said that was something that's kind of on the back burner for now.
Okay.
They got to make a lot of decisions here in the next few weeks. He said that's probably something that they'll look to in July.
Okay.
As far as like the GM goes, I mean, I think it's kind of a matter of semantics here. I mean, make no mistake, this is going to be Kyle Dubas' show. He's going to be making the decisions. This is different than the last regime where Brian Burke was the president of hockey ops, but he was more of an ambassador, dealing with different stuff, beyond the hockey stuff, although he was involved in hockey stuff, and it was Ron Hextall making the decisions. It'll be Kyle Dubas making the calls. And I think the GM title, if anything, it's an opportunity maybe for someone who's an assistant GM that they could hire them easily, and move them into a role where they would kind of groom them to maybe potentially be the GM. Whereas if it was hiring an assistant GM for a lateral move, the other team could block it. So I think it's kind of working in their favor as well, as maybe they can get a rising, executive to step into that GM role. But it's going to be Kyle Dubas' show.
At this point, what's your thoughts on the goalie situation? Do you think Jarry will be re-signed? Several of my media colleagues, and I think you've heard maybe some of them have said they think Jarry's coming back. Is that the case, do you think?
I don't know. It's going to be hard to see how this all comes together because, for 3 years in a row, he's proved to be unreliable when they needed him the most. The last 2 years were due to injury. So you give him a little bit of a pass for that. But, there's been a lot of talk over the last, several months that he's dealing with a chronic hip issue that could potentially affect him going forward. Now, I don't know how severe that is. I know there's some truth to it, but I don't know how bad it is. So, that could give the Penguins pause in addition to his unreliability. So, I think from the Penguins standpoint, given all that, I mean, it would make sense for them to approach him about a really short-term kind of prove-it deal, 1-2 years where maybe they give him a decent salary. But from Jarry's perspective, he's a two-time All-Star. If he can get medically cleared by other teams, he's a top free agent on the market. So, theoretically, maybe there's a way they can make it happen where he comes back on a 2-year deal, but it's just kind of hard to see everything lining up to the point that he's coming back, especially when you look at Cal Dubas's track record where, he's let some guys go and hasn't shown that he's willing to be a big spender at the goalie position, financially speaking.
Do you think that Fleury or Murray would come back if that's the case to the Penguins? Because Dubas has some working, he's worked with Matt Murray, and then Fleury's out there. I guess, could we sick him out of retirement or whatever he plans on doing? Is that possible?
Well, I think Fleury's going to stick in Minnesota. He's got 1 year left on his deal.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he has no trade clause, and he's indicated he wants to stick around there. So probably not, although I know a big chunk of the fan base would be happy to see Mark come back. As for Matt Murray, there's some talk he could get bought out by Toronto, but I don't know if we'll see a reunion there. Matt's a great guy. He's a 2-time Cup champion. But he just has not been able to stay healthy. And also the game has changed a lot. The NHL game since Matt won those 2 cups. I mean, it's a lot more, running gun, side to side movement.
Yes.
And
I
that was
noticed
never,
that. Right.
Yeah, that's never had been a strong point in Matt Murray's game. And, I do know over the last couple of years in Ottawa and then Toronto, he's been trying to rework his technique and evolve. But the problem is he's had to switch teams. He's dealt with injuries. I know in Ottawa, his goalie coach got fired. So there's just, all those factors have led to Matt just not being able to get that traction. So you never say never, but, you just wonder if Matt is ever going to be able to get back or anywhere remotely close to the level he was a few years back. He's getting older now. He's, I think, probably 29-ish. So, it sucks. He's a great guy, but I just don't know if he's ever going to get anywhere near that peak form we saw back in 16 and 17.
Is Kyle Dubas, what's his plan for the draft? Did he mention anything?
He has not said anything specific about that. I mean, I know he had like preliminary talks with Sullivan and people who work in the front office, before he took the job, but he's really got to play catch up. I'm sure they're up in Buffalo for the scouting combine now, but he's got to get on the same page as the scouts, the coaching staff. I mean, he has a good idea of the draft from, his time in Toronto. So just kind of merging what the people here think with that. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think with that 14th overall pick, I would not be surprised if the Penguins trade that. I mean, they could get a pretty good player. It's supposed to be a really top-heavy draft. Starting with Connor Bedard, I don't know what the town will look like at 14, but chances are the person they pick there isn't going to play in the NHL for at least 2-3 years. And, I don't think Dubas is going to go all out trying to win now. But I do think with that first-round pick, it's an opportunity to maybe add a really good player who's not on the older side, maybe like someone in the 25, 26 range. And also maybe shed a contract like Michael Granlund's in the process. So I'm sure they will kick the tires on moving that pick and see what's out there for it. And then just kind of, make the best decision based on who they like in the draft and what kind of interest they're getting in that pick.
Okay. The 3 guys that came in on the last trade that Hextall made, okay, are other than Granlund, are the other 2 going to be staying as well? Or are they planning on shipping them out? Or are they planning on doing some things?
I mean, Nick Bonino, Dmitry Kolikov. I mean, neither one of them did much of anything because they got hurt.
They didn't.
I mean, I think if
Bonino
they came
was
back,
hurt, Matt. I mean, he was hurt almost the whole time since when he first got here. So
he lacerated a kidney. Kind of a fluke deal. But yeah, I mean, they're older players. I mean, maybe if they're willing to come back on like extremely cheap contracts, maybe a guy like Bonino could come back. But I expect both of them will be gone. And then Granlund's an interesting one. I mean, he's got 2 years left on his contract that pays him $5 million a year.
Wow.
When they made it's not. I mean, it was an awful trade,
right?
And it's not even like
it's
not even like it's revisionist history. I mean, when they made the move, everybody was like, what are they doing? It wasn't like it just was a flop. I mean, it just was a confusing kind of desperate move, and they really misevaluated the player. They gave up a 2nd-round pick to get him, and they might need to use the 2nd-round pick to unload his contract. That's how bad it is. So I will say with him, he's the one guy on the team that actually makes sense as a buyout candidate, where they could buy him out and save about $3 million in cap space. Now, there'd be a cap hit left behind for a few years. So down the road, maybe that doesn't matter if they go into a rebuild. But I do think he's one guy that on the one guy on the roster who makes sense as potential buyout candidate. So all three could be gone, really.
Well, what about Jason Zucker? I'm hearing rumors that they may want to trade him. And is there any talk about Malkin going or one of these guys to try to cut out some cut, because of salary cap issues, and they may want to sign some other players? They have to get younger and faster, Matt. There's no doubt about that. And they have to keep their first round pick because they have nothing in their minor league system at this point. So what do you think they're going to do?
Well, the big three is sticking around. Even if they wanted to get rid of them, those players have like no trade protection, so they would presumably fight it. Zucker's a free agent. I think, I mean, that's another guy where you have to be really careful looking at his age and injury history. I mean, he was such a great player for him last year. He finally stayed healthy and showed everybody in Pittsburgh what he was all about. I mean, the guy brought it every single night. You can't say that for most of the guys on the team, but then again, he's had a ton of injuries, and it all depends on kind of what the contract's looking like. I mean, if some team out there is trying to give him, 4 or 5 years and a decent chunk of change, I mean, I just don't think the Penguins can commit to that. I mean, you talk about them needing to get younger. That would certainly go against that. Now you got to find someone to replace what he brings to the table. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, right now they only have $20 million in cap space.
Wow.
They have eight players who have some form of no trade protection, like Jeff Carter, for example. So
that's a lot, man. That's
yeah. I mean, you can make guys, like we saw with Patrick Hornquist, like a couple years ago, he had full no trade. Jim Rutherford was like, "We want to trade you," and it took Patrick Hornquist a few days to come around to the idea, but he eventually waived his no trade clause. So I mean, guys don't want to be somewhere where they're not wanted typically. So maybe that's one way about it. But I do think, they're going to have to make some tough decisions. You wonder if they would, trade a guy like Jake Gensel, who's entering the last year of his contract, or Marcus Pettersson, who's coming off a career year, or what they could get for Jeff Petrie. But, if they're going to drastically change the roster, I mean, you're probably looking at moving a player like that, because either you have all the top players who have no trade, or you have guys like Granlund who have no trade value whatsoever.
All right, we're talking to Matt Vensel. He's the beat reporter for the Post-Gazette for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we're talking about all kinds of Penguin stuff here. Smokin' Jim, do you have any kind of questions for Matt tonight?
Oh, man, I tell you what, I'm a fan. Great information, man. No questions.
Thank you.
All right, he says thank you there, Smokin' Jim. Right now, Pirates are still down 5-2 to the Oakland A's. That's sad. 7th inning, terrible. But we'll see if they come back. They should be able to against the A's anyway. So speaking of the Stanley Cup Finals, and I was going to have Leo Haggerty on. He just informed me that he can't come on to talk about the Florida Panthers. They're having bad storms down in Florida, and he has no power. So he's not going to be able to come on tonight. He's from Amped Up Sports, which we're now part of as well here at Sports Corner. Also today, Matt, I wanted to Gary says here, and thank you, Gary, for watching on the comment section. Matt Grenlin deal was a kind to Alex Stoyanov deal for Marcus Naslund in 96. What do you think of that, Matt?
I don't know if anything could be as bad as that as far as the Penguins go, but it's a bad one. It's on the top 10 list, I think.
Yeah, Naslund was a bad player. I remember that. That was a horrible deal there. That was terrible. But anyway, where do you see the Stanley Cup Finals? I know Las Vegas is up now 2-0. Do you think they're going to sweep it up, or do you think Florida can come back?
I think Florida still has fight left in them. I don't know if they're going to be able to dig out of this hole. I mean, they are going back to Florida for the next 2 games. So maybe they get some life there. But yeah, I mean, it's been interesting to watch. Because I mean, Vegas is, not to take anything away from Vegas. I mean, they've been a great team all year, and they've been awesome in these playoffs. But Vegas is making Florida look the way Florida was making all these other teams look, like just completely overwhelming them with their energy and tenacity and speed and just like relentless. And that's the way Florida was playing.
Oh yeah, I wanted Carolina because I'm a big Carolina fan. I became that fan when in 2019 my aunt passed away, and I had to go down to Raleigh and deal with her estate and things like that. And I became a big North Carolina fan once I got down there. In fact, I wasn't going to come back at one point, but I ended up doing that anyway. But I became a Carolina Panthers fan or a Carolina Hurricanes fan, and I thought, oh, my gosh, this seems good, but they always seem to blow it in the playoffs. What do you think?
I just think this year, well, I mean, with Carolina, they were missing some players to injury, but I mean, they just
Right.
ran into a really good team. And, we'll see if Florida can regroup. I mean, they need Sergei Bobrovsky to get going in net. They need the team to get back to playing where they were just rolling over teams with their depth and their speed and their forecheck. I still think Florida's going to make it a series. I'd be surprised if it didn't end up going 6 games. Geez, it's an uphill climb. We've seen the Penguins do it in the Stanley Cup Finals back in 2009. Lose the first 2 and find a way to pull it out. But it's not going to be easy against this Vegas team because they got some really good players too.
Matt, thanks for being part of the program tonight. I appreciate it, and thanks for all your information and everything else. Smokin' Jim, you don't have anything for Matt before he goes?
No, I appreciate you, Matt. Always good having you on, buddy.
Matt, I don't know if you're aware, but today I signed a contract to be on Beaver County Radio. We start June 20th,
Nice.
5 to 6 p.m. So I'll be in touch with you to see if you can come on and share the same information you've been sharing here on there. And I'm still doing Sports Corner here, but it's going to be recorded, and we're going to be sending it down to PCTV, and I'll be uploading it onto YouTube so everyone can watch the archive version. But we'll no longer be live on the 4 platforms with Sports Corner. All right, Matt, have a great night. Thanks for being on once again. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on last Thursday by phone there on our live segment down at PCTV. I really appreciate it. You have a good night, and thank you.
You too. Have a good night.
All right. That was Matt Venzel from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. He's the beat reporter for the Penguins. Smokin' Jim, Leo Haggerty had to cancel. They're having bad storms down in Tampa there where he lives, and he's possible power outages happening, and he can't make it tonight. So we don't have Leo Haggerty to talk about the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Rays and all that other stuff. So from our friends at Amped Up Sports, who now are part of our sports program as well. Smokin' Jim, what were your thoughts on what Matt had to say?
Oh, man, I tell you what, Matt is just a wealth of information and knowledge. He's very passionate about what he covers. And I tell you what, our listeners got a treat tonight with Matt.
Oh, absolutely they did. And Kip Gross, I mean, that was a treat as well. I mean, he's a Major League Baseball player, and who would ever thought he'd be on this program? But he is. This is how good we're moving up in the world. And I want to personally thank you, Smokin' Jim, for your acknowledging what we did today with the Beaver County Radio and Pittsburgh Sportsline. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's huge. That's huge, man.
Oh, yeah, absolutely it is. And we're going to make ties in the Pittsburgh radio and everything else. We have a top 10 tonight, Smokin' Jim. It's a Pirates top 10. We'll get into that later. Some Steeler news tonight. They signed former Eagle offensive lineman Gerald Williams, signed running back Darius Higgins. I believe he's the son of Clark Higgins. So I just want to let you know that. And the Browns released former Steeler lineman Joe Haig. You think the Steelers should go back after Joe Haig because, I know they have a lot of linemen now, but he was here before. He didn't do too bad filling in when he had to. What do you think?
Well, I would if I was the Steelers, but you know what, man, it's deep here. He may want to go somewhere else where he has a better opportunity to make the team. But I tell you what, man, Clark Higgins, man, just bring them all back. Clark Higgins played, opposite sides of Joey Porter for Colorado State. They both played here as linebackers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So bringing family back, man. So let's see if his son is a little chip off the old block on the offensive side of the ball.
All right, 8th inning, A's 5, still Pirates 2. They have the Zhang in the game pitching right now. All right, let's get back to this. Anthony McFarland Jr. said special teams is going to be the thing for him this year. Do you think he has a chance of making the team? I think the running back room, they could use him. They haven't used him very much. And then when he was hurt, he lost a lot of time. What do you think about Anthony McFarland Jr.?
Well, maybe it might finally click, man. A lot of times, this guy got pretty much tunnel vision, but he's probably one of the fastest players in the NFL. He's a home run hitter. He's about 15, 220 pounds. So maybe it might click. A lot of times, man, it takes 3-4 years in one system for him to be able to find the holes and be able to understand the blocking patterns of the offensive lineman. He had some big games at Maryland. He rushed for over 300 yards and 5 touchdowns, I believe, against Ohio State. So teams like speed, man. Look how long it took Fast Willie Parker to come around, and then he ended up having some very good career with the Steelers.
Oh, yeah, longest run in Super Bowl history, and it still hasn't been beat.
Yeah. So maybe this might be McFarland's year. If not, he'll get cut.
Oh, absolutely. You know it. And then you don't have to worry about Benny Smell because he's still sitting out there and the Steelers haven't signed him. So, I mean, so I'm glad he's gone. I mean, I said that last week on our TV show that I'm glad he's gone. So anyway, but anyhow, here we go. I want to do this for this next thing. Ready? Oh, I'm sorry. I pushed the wrong one. Oh, that wasn't what I wanted. Oh, well. There we go. All right. Vince Williams, former Steeler linebacker, says Devin Bush's leg injury has ruined his play. No joke. So, what do you think, Smokin' Jim? No joke.
I thought he was a bum at Michigan. I predicted he would be a bust in the NFL.
You said he was a bust, and I love it when you and Luther used to argue about that. And then Luther had to eat it, and he had to say, "Well, Smokin' Jim, you were right about Devin Bush." And we all sat there and said, that he was tough. And Luther, Devin Bush, And then when you guys would argue on Steel City Sports World, that was so hilarious. And I said to myself, I think Devin Bush is a bum. And then all of a sudden, he was a bum when he played, when he was healthy. And then he got the leg injury, and he really was a bum. So, and then I can't believe Kevin Colbert traded up to get him. I mean, that was crazy. So, all right, former Steeler Marquise Pouncey, get this, Smokin' Jim. You ready for this one?
Yeah.
All right, here's a joke here. He's going to play for Antonio Brown's new arena football team in Albany, New York.
You're kidding, right?
No, I'm not joking.
Oh, man.
Marquise Pouncey's coming out of retirement to help Antonio Brown. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Jeez.
Wow.
Former Steeler Antonio Brown is a candidate to be the second person on Undisputed because we know, what's his face? Stepped down from Shannon Sharp. Yeah, he stepped down from there, and he's one of the candidates, and there's a few other guys that they're looking at as well. I'll have that list for you later. All right, the Pirates 31-27. Now they're down 7-2 in the 8th inning, and to lose to the Oakland A's, that's sad. But anyway, they play the A's tonight, as you see again tonight. They won last night 5-4. Too many mistakes. They're making mistakes tonight. A lot of different blunders going on here. Henry Davis moved up to AAA from Altoona along with Andy Rodriguez. They have 2 great catchers down in the minor league system. What do you think of that, Smokin' Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, I just hope that they don't do like they did with Jacob Stallings. They ran him through the system, and then he came up and he was catching. He was a starter. We trade him. We get Zach Thompson. Thompson plays 1 season and then moves on. So, that trade wasn't one of Ben Cherington's best as far as I'm concerned with that. And then here he was a Gold Glove catcher. And that's the thing that really bothered me about Jacob Stallings was that. Now they have Austin Hedges, and you know what? His defense last night, if it wasn't for his defense, you could sit there and criticize the way he doesn't hit. He does the Mendoza line, as they call it here. You know how it goes. And, but his defense last night saved the Pirates. I believe that to be the case because his defense was great last night. What do you think of Austin Hedges?
Yeah, I'm with you, brother.
All right, let's get into some local sports here. The Maulers. Now, get this. They were up 19-6. So they let Houston score 2 touchdowns, and then they end up losing 20-19. And you ready for this, Smokin' Jim? Chris blew it. Sir. Chris blew it. He blew it. When they needed him at the last minute to make a field goal, he blew it. So they end up losing 20-19. They drove down. They had enough time on the clock. They drove down. There was some bad clock management, some horrible penalties. The Maulers now have been beating themselves with these penalties. That's the reason why now they're 2-6. I thought maybe they could salvage the season. They were 2-5, win the next 3 games, and become 5-5, where at least they'd be 500. But again, we have Ray Horton here, who I think is trying to do something here, but once again, it's the same thing. Williams says, Mr. Williams, this is random, but I was curious if you were going to see the new movie out about George Foreman. I don't like a lot of the sports biopics or biographies, but thought the previews looked promising. Have you seen it, Smokin' Jim?
No.
Okay, I haven't looked at it either. I will, and we'll get back to you on that one. So, and Smokin' Jim's part of the boxing authorities. I'm sure Claudia Rosano or Luther Dupree may have watched it, but I haven't seen it yet. So, but I will check it out. I don't go to theaters too much because they're too expensive. I'd rather sit at home and watch it where I don't have to pay that much to go there. You have to take out a loan to go to the theater now. So, anyway, but that's the answer to your question, William. And I thank you and Gary for your comments, and I thank you for watching as well. And I hope you'll be listening and watching us on Beaver County's Facebook page, because not only are we live on the radio, we're live on Beaver County Radio's Facebook page. Okay? Facebook page. So, oh yeah, no worries. It's all probably be on television in another month. Thanks, Mr. Williams and Smokin' Jim. Yes, it will be on television. How'd you guess? How'd you guess? Yes, indeed. I'm flooding PCTV with all of our programming, Smokin' Jim. Everything that we do is going to PCTV, and I'm not paying $50 an hour for the fee down there, so that's not going to happen. But anyway, all right, the Riverhounds right now, they're playing in Cincy. They're in the finals of the Lamar Hunt Cup. They've beaten Phoenix, who is an MLS team, and now they're going to be in 13 games. They're 6-5-1. They weren't doing too good there. They had a couple ties, or 6-5-2. I'm sorry, they had a couple ties. What do you think of the Riverhounds? They had a sold-out crowd last night. What do you think?
I tell you what, man, they're very, very popular franchise here in Pittsburgh.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Heather says, Ralph, some of us don't use Facebook anymore, though. Okay, well, I have another idea for you. Go to Google Play Store and download Beaver County's app, Beaver County Radio's app, and you can get us live on their app and on their website or on their web page as well. We're live on there. Also, when you pop up Beaver County Radio, there's you can scroll down. You can use TuneIn. You can use Audacity. Or Odyssey. You can use a few different apps, but get this: Radio Stations USA is what the one you want, because it's free and it'll pop up right away. So use Radio Stations USA, and you can listen to us on your cell phone or on your tablet or computer, anything that you have. We have many ways that our broadcast is going to be out. So Heather, I thank you for watching as well. A lot of watchers tonight, Smokin' Jim. It's great to have them on here. It's great to have a good audience. And it was great to have Kip Gross and Matt Vensel on as well. Pittsburgh Passion, they won Saturday 44-16. They beat the DC Divas. They play Saturday away. They're at Boston in a game that they lost to Boston. A game that they lost to Boston 62-0. I hope that they can go there and play this game on June 10th and beat them. What do you think of the Passion?
I thought they were home on the 10th. They're away?
Yeah, they're away on the 10th. They were home this past week in Slippery Rock. Remember I told you last week they were playing?
Yeah, I knew that. I thought they had back-to-back home games.
No, they're away against Boston Renegades. So, all right, that is our other local sports in town here. All right, our other national sports candidates for the Undisputed show for the vacated by Shannon Sharp are, all right, LaShawn McCoy, Shady, is one of the candidates. What do you think of LaShawn McCoy being on Undisputed there?
He's a controversial guy. I don't think he's I think Skip prefers somebody a little louder. I don't think Sean's that loud. So, Stephen A. and Shannon was kind of boisterous. So, but Shady is controversial, so he may be a candidate.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, he's on that list. Heather says, They will try their devices and thank you. And she also says, sorry if you talked about this, but the Grunlin getting moved from the Penguins. Yes, that could happen. He is on the trading block. They got to unload one of those contracts of those 3 sorry trades that Ron Hextall made. And Brian Burke, as director of hockey operations, did absolutely zero when he was here. He was an ambassador. Oh, wonderful. What a way to be in charge of hockey operations. Wonderful, isn't it? All right. So anyway, also you have Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Ako, and Antonio Brown. What's your thoughts on these candidates, Smokin' Jim?
Well, Joy is a great talent. She got her own show right now, but I don't think Skip Bayless will be allowed to go at a woman. So I don't think that they're ready to have a woman as a co-host on the show like that. Antonio Brown is out.
Right.
And for one thing, he could never get up that early to make this show. And who was the other candidate?
Emmanuel Acho, ACHO. I believe it's pronounced.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, person. I'm not familiar with him either, so I have no idea. Maybe he's the janitor somewhere or something.
Who do you think would be a good co-host? It doesn't have to be somebody on that list, but does anybody come to mind?
Ryan Clark.
Ryan Clark.
Yeah, Ryan Clark would be good. Yeah, Ryan Clark would be good. I think if Deion Sanders wasn't the coach at Colorado, I think he would be good. You know, the question is, who can Skip Bayless get along with? That's the biggest question here, Smokin' Jim. What do you think? Yeah. You know, I mean, Shannon Sharp's a good guy. I don't understand how in the world they didn't get along. And Shannon Sharp made a statement today that said that, Skip Bayless is a goof. So, I mean, here we are. Now we got name calling coming out of all this, too. So that's sad. I mean, it really is. It's a good show. It's really sad. ESPN, by the way, too, Smokin' Jim, making some more cuts. They're going to start weeding out some salaries and bringing in some young people, I guess. Disney has been, who owns ESPN, has been cutting stuff out there in their resorts all across the board. Disney's been cutting. I don't know what's going on there. I don't understand how Disney's not making any money. Everybody goes to Disney World. I mean, I don't, but you don't. But I mean, there are people that always take their kids there, their grandkids, and I've gotten bad emails because people say, "Well, you're talking about a great trip idea to go to Canton and see the Maulers for $10 a ticket, go see the Hall of Fame, and then and saving on gas. I take my kids to Disney World. Well, that's well, good for you. I'm glad. You know what I mean? So." All right. I know we don't talk about golf, Smokin' Jim, but this is a crime. The Love Golf Group, who is owned by Saudi Arabia. Remember all them golfers were all trying to go to Saudi Arabia because they were giving them all this money? Well, now all of a sudden the Love Group, or this Love Golf Group, they want to merge with the PGA. Okay? And now all the golfers who stayed with the PGA because of loyalty, not about bucks, are now frustrated. And now they're going to the PGA and they're saying, why are you merging with these people? Or why are you guys getting together? What do you think of this, Smokin' Jim? I know we don't talk about golf much. I'm not a golf fan, but this makes me angry. My favorite two golfers are Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy.
Wow. You know what? I haven't been really up on that, so I'll just go with your opinion on it. I haven't been following it that closely.
NHL Stanley Cup playoffs. Las Vegas 7, Panthers 2. They play again, I believe, on Thursday night, and Las Vegas is up 2-0. Do you think what do you think Vegas can do here with Florida?
I think it's over.
There you go. Yeah, well, it's hard to come back from 2-0, especially in the Stanley Cup final. I mean, so Sunday game in the NBA Finals, Miami 111, Denver 108. It's now tied 1-1. What do you think of this series here? What do you think of this Denver and Miami in the NBA?
Very disappointed in Denver for losing home field advantage here by losing at home. After they blew Miami out in the first game, I don't think that they came with the same mindset. They allowed Miami to keep it close and play good defense, and then win it down the stretch. You can't afford to lose at home when you got home field advantage. Now Miami has the home field advantage. So.
Okay, I am right now in the process while this show is going on, Smokin' Jim and everyone out there, of sending down the Sports Corner from last week, which will be airing on PCTV real soon. So get on PCTV, Channel 21, Comcast, 47 Verizon Cable. Last Tuesday's podcast will be on PCTV. You have to check your local listings on your cable company channel, or go on PCTV's website, Pittsburgh Community Television, and find out what time it'll be on. But it is coming on. Also, the External Boom and the Wrestle Talk are also going to be on there as well, with myself, Smokin', Jim Frazier, and Mark Mancini. Wrestle Talk. In 2 weeks, Smokin' Jim, we have a wrestler coming on named Eric Johnson. He's an independent wrestler here in Pittsburgh. He wrestles for that group in McKeesport that has an independent wrestling. He's going to talk wrestling with us. He's going to tell us how the independents are doing and everything else. So, Smokin' Jim, we have a guest in 2 weeks.
Great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And those shows as well will be down on PCTV. And also, we'll be talking wrestling a little bit on Beaver County Radio. We're going to be over our hour. And what I mean by that is the Pirates play. And therefore, since the Pirates play on the night that our show airs, we will be on that show, or we will be on over, which means we could go from 6 o'clock, 5 to 6 to 5 to maybe 6:30, because the pregame starts at 6:40. We may even go to 6:40 or 6:35.
Wow.
So what that does is that gives us time, Smokin' Jim, to talk wrestling with all of our fans who love that.
Awesome.
So, I mean, so that gives us some opportunity there. So, all right, before we go, Smokin' Jim, I have our top 10 Pirate players of all time. You ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. Number 10, Pie Trainer. Number 9, Babe Adams. Number 8, you ready? Andrew McCutcheon.
Yep. Wow.
Okay, number 7, Ralph Kiner. Number 6, Paul Wayner. Number 5, Barry Bonds. You think Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, Smokin' Jim?
First ballot.
Yeah, I do too. I think he should be as well. He's a good player. I know he had a little bit of issues. I still love that argument. I've watched that argument several times between him and Jim Leland at training camp. Oh my gosh, I still get a kick out of that argument. I still watch it. It's on YouTube. All you got to do is punch up Jim Leland stuff. I always used to love when Jim Leland got angry and fighting with the umpires. Archie Vaughn, number 4. All right. Oh, now it's 9-2 A's. Oh my gosh. Wow. Archie Vaughn, number 4. Number 3, Willie Stargell. Number 2, Hannes Wagner. And number 1, you ready for number 1?
Yes.
Roberto Clemente. All right.
Okay. Wow.
All right. Now I have honorable mentions. You ready for the honorable mentions?
Uh-huh.
All right. L.B. Fletcher. Starling Marte. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? What in the world are you thinking here? Oh, my gosh. Oh, John Candelaria, Andy Van Slyke, Vern Law, Bill Mazeroski, Tommy Leach. I'm surprised Mazeroski's not on this list. I'm quite unhappy about that. Sam Levier. All right. Bob Friend, Fred Clark, Wilver Cooper, Dave Parker, and the number 1 honorable mention, Brian Giles. So, there you go. So, Smokin' Jim, as we conclude our show, do you have any final thoughts before we go?
Oh, no, man. Awesome show. Awesome day, man. It was great to finally have some lunch with you and meet the general manager.
Yeah.
Of the radio station.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great, man.
Yeah, it was a super day today, everybody. We had a good time. Next Monday on The Way I See It, I'll be telling you about it on my life story. But today, it's just so exciting. I'm lost for words right now because I just don't know. I'm so excited. I'm ready to get going now. I mean, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get this going. This is what I've been wanting for a long time, and now it's here. And once again, I want to thank you and the guys down at Steel City, or at Pittsburgh Sports Line for the shout out and the congrats and everything. Even Nick Callis even said something that was great. You know what I mean? So, I respect the guy that wishes another guy, a good opportunity. So, but anyway, we did have a great lunch today out there in Moon Township. One time I had the Star Trek crew in my cab, Smokin' Jim, and I had Mr. Sulu. Oh gosh, off the top of my tongue, I can't remember his name. Anyway, George Kakai. Okay, I had him in the cab, and we're on our way to the airport because the group was supposed to go for a Star Trek convention in Charleston, West Virginia, but Useless Air couldn't get the plane off the ground, so they stayed at a hotel, and I took them to the airport the next morning. And George Kakai was so funny. He was saying, how would you like to tell somebody, despite the fact that we're on Star Trek, that you live on the moon? How would you like to tell somebody you live in Beaver? Oh my gosh. It was so hilarious. But I can't wait. June 17th, I'm going to Beaver County Radio. They have a new studio they're building in Brighton, New Brighton. And so what we're doing is I'm going on the 17th for the ribbon cutting. It's great to meet up with some old radio guys that are on the station. Also on June 20th or June 19th, Smokin' Jim, I'm going to the station, check out the equipment if you'd like to come with me. I think you said you're coming back from your trip down to Atlanta, I believe. Or no, Dallas. You said you were going to Dallas or something, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. For another convention. Yes. All right. Smokin' Jim, thanks for being on the program as always. And everyone have a great night, and thank you. Have a good night. Be safe. And we'll talk to you next week.